Believe it or not, I've owned my Golf R for over 8 months at this point, which is honestly crazy to even think about. This car has been amazing. It's my favorite car I've ever owned. I absolutely love this thing. But despite how amazing I think this car is, there's actually a bunch of things that I don't like about it at all. So in today's video, I'm gonna be telling you guys the worst things about owning my Golf R. Before we get started with the video, I just wanna apologize. It's a super windy day, so I hope the sound is good. But also, if you haven't already, go down below and hit the subscribe button. A lot more stuff coming with this car in the winter. I know it's been a little while since I've last posted, but we're gonna be doing some fun stuff with this car in the winter for sure. So you guys don't wanna miss it. Go down below and hit the subscribe button. It's honestly so cold, I feel like I can't talk right now. Like the wind is just freezing my lips. But let's get into the first thing about this car that I don't really like at all. So the first thing, and probably the biggest thing about this car that I don't like that much, is the fuel economy. I find myself opening this door a little bit too often. Now before we dive into this, I just want to preface, I knew this car was not going to be amazing on gas. This is not a Civic like I used to own. This is not a Prius. I knew it wasn't going to be the best car on gas. And also, this car is heavily modified, so that also adds to how bad the fuel economy could end up being. But of course, you don't really know the extent of something until you actually get into it, and that's what I started to find out with this car. As you guys can see there, I got 25 kilometers left. I've only driven about 410 kilometers, and I'm here at the gas station to fill this thing up and get her back to full. So in this car, I only put 91. I'm pretty sure it's tuned on 91 as of right now. With this car, I really only get like 450 kilometers per tank, which honestly, like, it's not bad. It's not bad for a car like this that's this modified, that has a small tank. I think the tank's only like 55 liters, but I don't know, something about it, I just wish I got a little bit more, man. I want to hit 500 because on the actual screen in the car, it tells me the range I can get like 550. But I guess somewhere in between, I lose 100 kilometers somewhere, I don't know. And the thing is too, I have this thing in eco mode like all the time. This thing stays in eco mode, but even so, the gas mileage still goes down, and there we go. 174.9 for 91, and we just spent 85 bucks to fill the tank. Not too bad. It's getting a bit pricey, but not too bad. Let's see what we got here. Wow, and it's only predicting 480 kilometers this time. And as you can see here, we also have, you know, some stats. I drove 410 last time, and I did 11.8 liters per 100 kilometers. Overall, this is not the worst gas mileage, and obviously it's not the best, but it can be better. It definitely can be better, and that's what I want to do next year. I want to get this thing properly tuned so I can have a really good eco mode that's like super efficient, and then a crazy gnarly race mode where I can just finish the tank, you know, in a couple pulls or something. I don't know, but I definitely want to have some good duality, because at the end of the day, this is supposed to be my daily, right? I want this to be a really solid daily that can do both things. I don't know if that's too possible. I don't know if I'm too ambitious for that, but that's something I definitely want to have with this car, and we're going to fix that in the near future. Now, the next thing about this car that I really don't like, unfortunately, has to do with my exhaust. Not too long ago, I installed the AWE switch path exhaust on my car, and I could not be happier. It has an amazing sound. I love the fact that it has valves. It's perfect for me. But the problem with this exhaust is you cannot rev it with the valves open. So the only way you can really hear how the exhaust truly sounds with the valves open is to drive it. And the funny thing is, I've been at stoplights before where people have been like, yo, rev your car. And I can't, because if I put the car in neutral, the valves close. Of course, there is a solution to this problem, which we will be getting again in the near future. But you need the AWE remote that essentially controls the valves manually. The next thing that I don't love about this car is honestly not a huge deal, but when you live in Canada like me, it does kind of make a difference coming into the winter months, and that would have to be a remote starter. I wish this car had a remote starter so bad now. Luckily, I do park this in the garage at home, but I mean, when I'm leaving work or something, like I have to go in the car and start it up myself, and it's a little luxury that I just wish I had, especially for a car that's made in 2018. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason why this car doesn't have a remote starter is because in Germany, it's actually illegal for your car to just be idling, and obviously, since this is a German car, it's not gonna have that feature. But if any of you guys have any like leads or like links or any hookups who can do a remote starter for this car, I would really appreciate it because I'm definitely thinking of getting one, especially because it's getting really cold. I feel like you guys are gonna find this next thing completely surprising, but the suspension setup that's currently on this car is something I don't like at all. Now, first of all, when it comes to fitment, like this car is almost perfect. The front fitment is amazing, and the rear needs a little bit of work. It needs to be lower, honestly. But when it comes to how the car looks overall, like aesthetically, it looks amazing. And the car is able to achieve this look on stock suspension because it has the EMD lowering springs on it. Now the problem is, even though like we have a spicy 1 finger gap, barely 1 finger by the way, and amazing fitment in the front, this setup is way too stiff. Like way too stiff. And obviously it makes sense because in the front we are so low. Like if this was not as stiff, this would absolutely destroy my fender, destroy everything. This car simply bottoms out way too easily, and the suspension setup is something I'm really adamant on changing. I love how low this car looks, but honestly I would sacrifice that a little bit for just a better ride in general. And I know these cars do have the adaptive suspension, you know, the DCC or whatever it's called. That's cool to have, don't get me wrong, but I want to switch to some really good conventional coilovers and have this thing just riding like a dream. That's what I want to do. So full disclosure, that might be the first thing I do to this car next year. Even my passengers who are with me, they just don't like when we hit a bump and it bottoms out and it's like, it's just too sketch. I want to get a new setup going so I can drive this thing with confidence, don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff, and just have a better drive in general. You know what, while we're in the car, I'm going to talk about the next thing that's honestly not the best about this car. You just get random lights and random scares about your car being broken. Sometimes your car freaks out, and that's just something that you have to get used to when owning a Euro car, which is I'm definitely getting used to that now, but it's something that I was initially unfamiliar to, you know, because when I had my Honda, like obviously it was not as modified as this car is, but no lights on the dash, and when I did have one, I was like, damn, like I'm scared. You know, but with this car, it's like I drive around with a check engine light all the time. You know, I got a couple codes that occasionally flash here and there, but you know, sometimes they go away, sometimes they stay. The car's still running fine, and obviously I'm not gonna neglect this car and the maintenance or anything that's wrong with it. I think as a Euro car owner, you just get way more accustomed to random stuff just happening to your car, random stuff popping up on your car, and you don't really care about it as much. But yeah, as a Euro car owner, your car keeps you on your toes a lot more, and that's why I have my scanner in the car at all times so I can check whenever I want. But knock on wood, thank God this car has been so good to me reliability wise, and we definitely have to do some maintenance coming before the snow falls, so I'm trying to do that real quick. But yeah, I just don't like how you get random jump scares and random things that are wrong with the car, and then they go away the next day like it's nothing. All right, so as we make our way out of this parking lot right now, I kind of want to segue to the next thing with this car that can be a little sus when you're driving on the roads. So obviously this car has lane assist, you know, where it will kind of keep you in the lane. If it sees you wandering, it'll keep you in the lane. But oftentimes when the markings on the road aren't the best, it kind of glitches out. It freaks out because I guess it can't read it properly, and it'll like yank my wheel. Like it'll just like yank my wheel like that, and it's terrifying, man. It'll often happen at an intersection like this where the markings kind of break up and they're not the best, but it'll just yank my wheel like that, and it's just so scary. That's another thing that I have to nitpick about this car for sure. I wish it was a little bit better, a little bit more accurate, and wouldn't freak out on me when I'm driving on the road. Now, I could be tripping, but the last thing that I really want to talk about when it comes to this car is the gear shifts. I find in certain modes, sometimes the shifts aren't as crispy as I would imagine them to be. They're not as crispy as I would want. They're a little sloppy sometimes, and I think the computer doesn't really know what gear to go into in some situations, if that makes sense. It's hard to demonstrate, but I have certain instances where like it doesn't really know how to shift properly, or it'll kind of have like sloppy shifts in a way, like it won't be as amazing, and it kind of will have some rev hang a little bit. I don't know, maybe I'm just delusional, maybe I'm expecting too much of this transmission. I feel like I'm nitpicking with a few of these things. Like the main thing with this car is definitely the suspension and the fuel economy, but like the rest, they're kind of nitpicks, I will admit. But that just goes to show how good this car really is and how much I love it as a daily. It's so much fun. I love how you can just put in sport Put your foot down and it just goes. So yeah, overall, I love this car. There are definitely things that I really don't like about it though, and I definitely want to change going into next year. But the last 8 months with this car have truly been amazing, and it's just hard for me to really say anything that bad. I do want to hear from the other Golf R owners or just Euro car owners in general. Let me know what you guys think about the things that I mentioned about this car. If you guys are having similar experiences with yours or whatever you guys don't like about your car, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. But yeah, as you can see, we still have the Pilot Sport 4S's on, and I mean, it's almost December and there has been no snow on the ground yet, and I've been getting away with having these tires on. The car is also filthy. It's actually so dirty, but there's no point because it rains like every other day. But this car is going to be getting its winter treatment probably starting tomorrow. I'm going to put winter tires on it. I'm going to get it undercoated. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff because this thing needs to be mint for the winter because I want to have a lot of fun with it. So that's probably going to be the next thing that we do literally tomorrow. And then I guess to kind of update you guys a little bit more, I have been planning V2 of this car for next spring, and of course you've heard me mention a few things earlier on in this video that are going to be part of the V2, but V2 has been planned for this car. I'm honestly not done yet. We're still cooking up, but I have big ambitions for this car and I want to change it and kind of make it my own because the way that it is right now is kind of somebody else's vision and I gotta make it mine. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you made it to the end, let me know down in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well if you haven't already, because more videos are coming soon. This is now the winter arc for the Golf R, and I know it's super cold outside, but I'm gonna still be out here filming for you guys and making some fun videos for you guys to enjoy. With all that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.